Hello, welcome to the ZEITGUYS podcast, and when we're not trying to convince little babies to go to bed, we talk about conspiracies and things that we're skeptical of. My name is Greg.
My name is Nick. I forgot my name for a sec. I was like, what do I say?
That happens every episode, honestly. I don't even know, who is this man sitting across from me?
I think it's like the pressure. Like I'm sitting here like, you're like, my name's Nick. I mean,
see what I mean?
You're sitting there like, my name's Greg, and I'm like sweating bullets. I'm like, what's my name?
Oh man, it's almost my turn. Oh boy. Oh, what do I say?
Oh shit.
No. It's like you're at the spelling bee and you know, like it's like your turn. You have a really hard word, except it's just your name.
I don't know if you watch. This is for all the TikTok users out there, but there's this good viral TikTok that's going around where like there's this guy and he's like, people are like sweating bullets and like, oh no, I can't. And then someone comes up to him and they go, a partick and they go, what are you talking about? I don't. A perdick scaffer. Robert Dick Scaffer. And he's like, I don't know what are you saying? I can't what do I? And then they just have a panic attack because they have no idea what the other person is saying.
I don't know. I don't get TikTok. I was a Vine guy.
I mean, it's basically Vine.
It's basically Vine, but it's not Vine, and I refuse to acknowledge it as an equal to Vine.
I mean, you got a point. Like, it's a lot of reused stuff, but it's still funny. I still find it funny.
Yeah, no, I get it. I've seen some good ones, but I don't like have the app. I just see them like on YouTube compilations once in a blue moon.
Yeah, but enough about dumb memes.
Enough about that.
Before we kick off this, I want to. I've made it a note to kind of keep up with relevant, up to date, like weird stuff going on. So.
Okay.
These past couple months, have you heard about the drones in Colorado?
No, but do tell.
So recently, there's been like military-sized drones, like flying in like patterns and like by the hundreds. Like, do you remember this past New Year's Eve, whenever they did like the drone light show in some country? I think London, or China, or something like that.
Buddy, I don't remember much from this past New Year's Eve. You know what I'm saying? No, I didn't hear about that. So what did they do?
So the government's investigating because they don't know what they are. They don't know what these drones are doing above Colorado, and people are freaking out.
So these aren't government, like these aren't U.S. military drones. They're just
well, that's what they say, but but they're like, oh, we're investigating these like swarms of like, not just like those little like 4 quadcopter drones. These are like full on like military, like planes, but like ones that can hover, but they're still like huge, like big enough to put like people in them, but not like. But it's just weird, and people are freaking out, and they don't know what they are.
But you know what? We're gonna put our top man on the case, Tom DeLonge. He'll know what to do.
Tom DeLonge, he's got the shit to get that shit.
That. What kind of tagline is that?
His.
That's like saying Tom DeLonge. He's got what he needs to get what he needs. It's like, what is that?
What could be better? I've got what I need to get what I need. Hey,
okay.
On speaking of bands, do you remember All Time Low?
Oh, I forgot we were speaking of bands because I forgot Tom DeLonge was Blink-182. Yes, All Time Low.
So they just came out with a beer called Beer Maria. Count me in.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I love it too, but I bet it tastes terrible.
Oh, it's probably awful.
It's a blonde.
Okay, I bet it's a blonde.
It's
Seems
dumb
like All-Time
blonde.
Low. I know these All Time Low is like the alternative Beach Boys. But they're into blondes.
You know what? I got your picture. I'm coming with you. Beer Maria. Count me in.
Yep.
All right. Enough of this.
Enough of that. So when we started this podcast, Nick and I had kind of an unspoken agreement, a gentleman's agreement that certain things were not going to be talked about, right? Certain things were off limits, whether because they are just things that we didn't really find interesting or things that people have talked about too much, or just things that like, you know what, that's almost sacred. I don't want to get into that, right? So like, for example, Flat Earth. Probably never going to have a Flat Earth episode. If you're holding out for that, I apologize. There's so much info on Flat Earth out there, and this podcast is about learning things you didn't know before, or just exploring ideas that you're trying to feel things out. So it's about things that are a little more nuanced. Flat Earth has been around. Everybody's talking about it. I'm not interested in talking about it. The other were 2 men, or 3 men, really. I didn't want to talk about Steve Irwin, Mr. Rogers, or Bob Ross, right? These are the pillars of my childhood. I didn't want to get into it. I don't want to tarnish their name.
Wait, there's conspiracy about Mr. Rogers?
Yeah. Okay.
Is it just like him being a Navy SEAL or whatever?
Yeah, but it's not true.
Yeah, I know that's not true.
Yeah, that could be a minesweeper, but the conspiracy is that he actually was like a very violent man who killed a lot of people, and he had tattoos and all up and down his arms.
Oh, like that's been debunked
I know, and that's why he
before.
wore the sweaters. It's not true. He was never in the military. He was a minister. He was always a very just like
He
mellow
wore those sweaters because his wife knitted them for him.
His
came out.
grandmother made them at first.
Just go watch the documentary. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Or
it's
the new
wonderful.
Tom Hanks movie that's coming out.
Yeah, that one's actually not a biopic. I watched that one. It's actually just a story about the story is about him and this journalist that wrote a story about him. So it's not like a Tom Hanks biopic. Like this is not Tom Hanks. It's not definitely not
This
that.
is the story of Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it's not a Fred Rogers biopic. Like this is the story of Fred Rogers. It's actually about this how this story came to be that this journalist wrote. Anyway, that's about to go out the window because someone submitted a theory about the man we know as Bob Ross, and I gotta do it.
You got to do it.
We asked people, hey, you got theories that you want us to talk about? And they said, I want you to talk about this, so we're going to talk about this. We are at your service. So, in doing some research.
Before you do that, I will shout out the person that sent us this on Twitter. We
Good
now
idea.
have a Twitter. It's called ZEITGUYS Podcast, simple, on Twitter. And someone DM'd us and said their name is Inside OZ Podcast. So thanks, guys, for sending in your Bob Ross topic. Greg is going to handle it with care.
I will. I'll do my best. And actually, when I was researching this theory, I came across another theory that I hadn't seen before. So I'm going to talk about two Bob Ross theories. Breaking my cardinal rule twice. And that's, I do that because I love you. I love you all.
I love you too.
Not you. Well, okay, yeah, I love you. Whatever.
Well,
whatever. So
get out.
Yeah, I know. I'm in your house using your professional equipment, and I should really show some more respect. So
well,
I
I
apologize.
stole this, so I'm not that great.
Yeah, that's true. You're an awful person. I'm mainly here just to make sure you don't hurt yourself or others. Okay, so
Just once.
Bob Ross. Here's the theory. There's no real backing for it. When I was doing some digging, I couldn't find much on the internet by way of like articles written about it or anything. But I've heard it just kind of, I've heard whispers through the trees, around the mountains.
Got to paint a happy little tree here.
Exactly. The happy little trees, they talk.
Smack the devil out of it.
They,
He does say that.
he beats the devil out of the
beat the devil
brush.
out,
Yeah,
and
you
then
gotta beat
takes
the
that. Pop, 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 pop.
And it's funny because if you watch him, every single time he hits it, like he just cracks up laughing. It's the funniest thing to him. I think it's because there's producers that are sitting off camera, and every time he does that, he's probably splashing them. But he's splashing him with that stuff that's probably toxic.
Ted, the
paint
boom
thinner?
mic guy, is just covered in paint.
I know, just constantly, just like, just wiping his eyes off. Like, he's blind now. Poor Ted.
Yeah, there's a documentary about it called Blind Ted.
Blind Ted. Yeah, that's a minesweeper. That's a real thing. That's not. We're making this up.
I'm getting off topic. Go ahead,
Totally
go
off topic. So here's the theory. It's that Bob Ross, as gentle as he may appear and as calm as he may seem, much like Mr. Rogers, is actually quite violent. And the way that he manages his violence is by putting it into a controlled manner in a controlled environment that is entirely within his mind. And it's a way that he can. So let me say this. If you've ever watched Criminal Minds,
I love Criminal Minds.
great show. Been gone on for far too long, but still, it's a great show.
It is actually in its final season.
Is it?
Yep.
About
Sad day.
Dang time.
Yep.
But
21 seasons.
yeah, that's a long time.
I think. But yeah.
Similarly, any other like serial killer show, or even if it's not specifically about serial killers, like Law and Order, SVU, that kind of thing. All of these people that do these serial crimes keep a trophy of some sort. They always have something that's taken from the scene of the crime, or they revisit the scene of the crime. They take a lot of them take pictures.
I take the aglet of the shoe
Yeah.
whenever I kill.
Yeah. He's got just boxes and boxes full of aglets. I mean to ask you, do you take all the aglets off of the shoe, or is it one aglet per victim?
It's one aglet. That way,
Good
people
Lord.
just think it fell off.
Good Lord. That's you. There's like 100,000 aglets.
Yeah.
So Bob Ross is his trophy, so to speak, is his paintings. The theory goes Bob Ross had secret let's say, killer instincts and indulgences that he would have no control over. He had something that made it was a form of psychosis, right? And so he would go and he would murder innocent people, right? Some might even say he's a Zodiac killer.
Whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
now you got my attention.
I just added that right now, but you know what? This theory is developing as we go. So
Like-
he's the Zodiac freaking killer, dude.
So like whenever like the police read his notes, they're like, now you'll never catch me.
Right?
I've left these notes in these happy little trees.
But you know what? The timeline adds up. Let's just point that out.
Okay.
He was of an age where he could have been committing these murders in the 70s. The timeline adds up. And then what he went on to do is so the story of Bob Ross, he actually was in the military, fun fact. And when he was stationed in Alaska, he began selling paintings on the side, and
Why-
that was a way for
How are you stationed in Alaska? What's the threat in Alaska?
Russians, dude. It's always the Russians.
I guess you got a point. It's very close to Russia.
And polar bears, Kodiak bears, grizzly bears.
I mean,
All the bears.
I could
All the
go-
bears are up there. The Chicago Bears, the Berenstain Bears, dude. All the bears are up there. You
you
gotta
mean
watch
the
out.
Berenstain Bears?
No, it's Berenstain Bears. Look it up.
You got me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I could go on a whole theory about Alaska, but go on.
Yeah. Oh, we'll save that. But anyway, he started selling paintings, and this is all true. On the side, like on street corners and whatever. It was the 70s, a different time. And because like now, if you see someone selling their paintings on a street corner, you're just like, ugh, like who is this person? What are they doing? But like back then, like everyone was actually out on the roads all the time.
This isn't
and buying
Graham-worthy.
stuff. Yeah, this isn't Graham. Who do you think you are to just interrupt my walking space with your paintings? That's how people are these days.
If I can't film this and get at least 100K likes, it ain't worth my time.
It ain't worth my time. Get out of here, scum. But that's what he would do. And so the theory goes that, like I said, it's developing as I speak. So who knows where we'll go with this one? That when the Zodiac Killer was active, also known as Bob Ross, he would commit various murders, and it's assumed, it's implied that many murders that the Zodiac Killer committed will never be attributed to him, and some of them were never even found out. The bodies were never discovered. What he would do is he would take a moment in whatever space he killed someone, right? And he would sketch. He would have a little notebook, a little field notebook, and he would sketch, right? These sketches would eventually translate into paintings, which would translate into income. But also, it translates into trophies for things for him to remember where the murders took place or where the bodies were buried. So he could get 2 paintings out of each one of these murders. Sometimes 3 if he goes to a 3rd place. So when he became the Bob Ross, had the PBS show and everything, he used some of because imagine you have to come up with a different painting every single week, right? That's difficult. That's tough.
It's a good outlet for him to get rid of all that frustration.
That's what I'm saying. He had field notebooks full of sketches ready to be turned into paintings at any moment. So he could do this show. Many people, even the most creative people, can't come up with a painting every single week and have it be good and have it be like follow along and like it turns out great. But he had already done each of these. So he had sketches, he was ready. So he would go and he would paint every week. And each painting was a trophy or was a space that was very important to him because of the murders he committed. And he remembered. And that's how he remembered. He immortalized it on TV and showed everyone. Because if you remember, the Zodiac Killer would taunt the police too.
Oh yeah.
He would send letters, right? And he would give people hints and everything. How much more brazen is it to not only go on public television, but to go on public television and show everyone where murders occurred and where bodies were buried every single week?
That's got to be a big turn on.
I know.
guess.
I know that he was. That's why they shot from the navel up because they couldn't show.
Hey, Ted, can you get a close up on the navel?
Right. Well, no, I'm saying they had to shoot from the waist up because they couldn't show just how excited he was about the prospect of getting away with everything he did.
So whenever he's like, you just got to beat the devil out of it.
Oh my god.
That's why he was laughing.
That's I know.
That's why Ted is blind. He was scarred by what he saw.
Let the record show I'm not just silent. I'm laughing over here because I can't catch my breath.
Go see Blind Ted in theaters this Saturday.
This is exactly why I didn't want to do a Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, or Steve
Because
Irwin
there's just
episode.
because people just want to shit on good people.
I know they're genuinely good people, so I don't believe this theory for a second.
Oh no, not at all. But
I
it
don't
is.
say that.
It's fun.
It's interesting, but someone did bring it up. You know, like that very well could be, because that's what you do if you're a psychotic killer. You want to do as much as you possibly can to take credit while not getting caught. You know, and a lot of killers would do it, and they would go too far and get caught. This would be the perfect outlet.
I mean,
Perfect
think
way to do
about
it.
like him. Think about him thinking about people trying to recreate these paintings. They're like, "You're recreating my murder," and that's just building up his ego more. He wants to taunt people more, and he's basically like, "I'm showing you all of these places, and you're painting them freely, putting them in your houses. Now you all get to share in my twisted fantasy."
Exactly. So that's the theory. Here's the other theory I found. And this one I'm gonna read a little bit. This one comes from the good old Reddit.
Oh, Reddit.
Where a lot of conspiracy theories are born with no basis whatsoever. This is one of them. So, all right.
Reddit.
The
The 4chan of the internet.
So here's the theory.
That was a dumb joke.
The 4chan of the internet.
Because 4chan's the 4chan.
4chan is the 4chan of the internet. Yeah.
I did hear there was a subreddit called 8chan, which is supposed to be even crazier, but whatever.
I don't even want to get into that.
Go on.
I mean,
sorry.
you know, that's another thing. They never found out who the Zodiac Killer was. They never did find that hacker named 4chan. Who is 4chan? Do you remember when that was like a big thing?
It sounds
there was like a
familiar,
bunch of celebrities had like leaked nude photos and stuff, and all the news media was like, the hacker named 4chan unleashed these photos to the internet.
I forgot
Who is
about
this 4chan?
like maybe, and everyone just at home, all the millennials are just shaking their heads like,
I know, we're just like, well, I mean, we thought it was hilarious, and it's like, is he related to Deadmau 5?
oh my god,
Who knows? All things that news media has said on television.
why does he obscure his face? Or the Daft Punk?
Or who is the Daft Punk?
Who is the Daft Punk?
What are they hiding? So here's
It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
here's the fan theory. So this guy, and I appreciate his Reddit name. His Reddit name is Gregawatt. Clever.
Shout out.
And shout out to Gregawatt. If you didn't take that name, I would have taken it. Actually, the name I wanted was To Catch a Redditor, but that was already taken by the time.
Oh,
I got
that's
there.
a good one.
I know. That's back when I don't use Reddit anymore, but I did, and it was fun for a time. But people are
Insane
on
Reddit?
Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually, you got to get away from the negativity. But there's little diamonds like this. So basically, I don't know. They don't give any real reason behind this, but it's implied that Bob Ross either comes from the future, or
Oh my god.
he's a seer and has seen the future. Okay, here's the theory. I'm just gonna read the kind of basic idea of it. So the idea is that Bob Ross creates his paintings from a post-apocalyptic world where he is the last living human. And the evidence for this is that his paintings always feature nature scenes, and they sometimes will have animals, but very rarely have they ever had any humans. Humans have almost no part in any Bob Ross painting. In fact, there have only been 2 paintings, and this is the Annette Kowalski is the founder of Bob Ross Incorporated. She revealed that there are 2 times he painted people, or at least that she could think of. There was a man by a campfire, who very well may have been Ross himself. Remember, he's the last human in this post-apocalyptic world. Or 2 people walking through the woods, which very well may be Bob Ross remembering his wife, who passed when the apocalypse happened. So if you take a look at the paintings, if they do feature some kind of man-made structure, there's never any people in them, the lights aren't on, and they're also never built with chimneys, implying that the chimneys fell down some long time ago. So like you'll see that he'll make cabins, and the cabins are always really beaten up, they're falling apart, they are not well kept because there's no people in them, because there's no people in this world. And this is the shame and the pain that Bob Ross carries, whether from the future or because he can see the future. And so he gets his emotions out onto the canvas and just shows this world. And that's the theory.
That is, I'm just going to be honest, that is dumb.
It is. I don't like it. But the fun part is that another Reddit user named CairoBird shared a photo from Fallout 4 in which it appears Bob Ross is a character in the game. And we can link to this photo, but that would explain why Bob Ross is able to see a little bit of what happens after we're gone.
You know what's funny? I know you're not big into gaming, Greg, but do you know what that screen is?
No, I never played Fallout, so I don't know.
That's the character customization screen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, where you get to design your own character.
What if Bob Ross made that character?
Bob Ross is dead.
Yeah, he died in 95.
I mean, I can.
I don't know. This one I'm just reading. The last one I came up with like kind of as I went. This one I'm reading from an article.
Because like you showed me that, I was like, Greg, that is literally where you design your character. I'm sorry, I don't want to burst your bubble, but that was like, come on. I was like, I get where they're trying to say, but at the same time, like, I can see him seeing the future, but like the scenes are always so beautiful. Just because there's like a beat up cabin and it doesn't mean it's post apocalyptic. Maybe he just walked in the woods and saw an old cabin.
I think that's too real. That's too realistic. You're like the guy that said that usually chimneys are the last thing left standing when a house falls down. It's like, no, shh. Just let it be.
First thing to go.
Yeah, I know. Chimneys would never be the first thing to go.
No.
I don't know. That's the only theory I actually found online because I couldn't find the serial killer theory when I looked for it.
Well, because I think whenever the Inside OZ podcast DM'd me, they said they'd heard about it, but they said there's not much backing that goes to that, but they said it might be interesting to talk about. And it is interesting.
I think that one has a lot more... That one has stronger legs to stand on than this post-apocalyptic theory. And yet, that's the one that I find all over the internet.
I mean, I got to give it to them. It is a creative outlook for like maybe like a story, like maybe a creative story to like a no sleep story or something about Bob Ross or something along those lines.
Yeah, it would have been better if I found it on the no sleep subreddit. I found it on the fan theory subreddit.
Because like for a while, because you and I have both been partakers in no sleep before.
That was my favorite. Yeah, my favorite
they're so
subreddit.
good. Because like back in the day, whenever I first started getting into like creepypastas and stuff, like I got into the one that hooked me. You've heard of Ben Drowned, right?
Yeah, dude.
That was because that one had all the videos to back it up.
Yeah, that one was really interesting.
That one, like literally, I thought that was real for the longest time.
Dude.
Like this, like not like the whole like, oh, there's a kid in it, but I thought it was like just a really messed up copy of the game. But it turns out like doing those effects in that game is actually not that difficult, and a lot of people have recreated them because there's a lot of hacking and you just emulate it on a computer and hack the game. It's super easy to do, but the amount of effort that went into that. Is so good. And he came forward back in 2016 and said like, oh, I'm the one that, because people thought it was real for so long because this guy dropped off the face of the earth. And the guy that originally spoilers for the Ben Drowned story.
It's been out there for a long time.
So at the end, his friend finishes writing these blog posts because his friend, I think, had to move away because he was going crazy or something because of all this stuff that was happening to him. So, but like guy dropped off the face of the earth and then he came back on that same blog to promote his Kickstarter and was like, oh, I'm the one that made this Ben Drowned thing and I'm making this Kickstarter for this app now.
Yeah. And
so
it's like,
I'm like, oh, okay, well, we kind of killed that magic. Maybe.
Right.
It's like,
maybe
I get that you're trying,
that.
It's like, I get that you're trying to use that notoriety to like boost your like Kickstarter, which I don't blame you for doing that. You have that bandwidth. Why not use it? Like you're not doing anything with it, but I mean, it did kind of kill that magic for me, but it did get me on that hook into like the no sleeps and like at least all the good ones, like the Mold series.
The Mold series was fantastic until it wasn't.
It started out so good.
And then it got weird, but it was really, really good at first. And then my favorite still, I think my two favorites are Search and Rescue Officer.
That's my ultimate favorite.
And Deep Sea Diver.
Those are like my top two. I also weirdly like Abandoned by Disney. Have you heard? You've heard
did that one.
It's
that
not
was
believable.
Just so ridiculous.
It's not. I think it's ridiculous, but it was like the first. Yeah, the pictures were very convincing.
Yeah,
and it was like one of the first ones, and a lot of people followed that and made a lot of Disney ones, but that was one of the first like Disney-esque ones. And it's believable because Treasure Island is like an abandoned island by Disney that they own, that they don't use anymore because it's dangerous.
And actually that's what I did after I read the Abandoned by Disney story, Creepypasta, I think is where it was. I looked it up and there is an abandoned theme park that Disney has that like people have snuck into and taken pictures. Nowhere near as creepy, obviously.
Yeah,
like the pictures aren't as creepy. It's just old. There's like the guy like went into this space and like found a bunch of owls and like the owls were just staring at him, and he was just staring at them. He's like, "Whoa!" Like that was kind of that would spook me, I think.
Yeah, that one also got me into the urban exploring YouTube channels.
Oh yeah.
There's these people I follow called the Proper People. There's these two guys that they sneak into stuff all over the world, and they snuck in. I think they're the ones that snuck into Treasure Island.
Might have been.
And they filmed it, and it's pretty cool. And they've done ones where they go to abandoned theme parks and they climb on top of the roller coasters, and they go to abandoned mental hospitals and abandoned malls. And it's
That's
really,
super cool.
It's super. I love watching that stuff. It's so cool to see all the stuff that they find.
Yeah. You know what hooked me? What creepypasta hooked me and like terrified me because I was so convinced it was real?
Oh.
The mannequin lady. Did you ever read that
Oh,
one?
the one with the freaky picture?
Yeah, because that's a real picture.
Yeah, it's a real like CPR mannequin.
Yeah, the picture was of this creepy CPR mannequin, and it was a drill that was done in like the 60s, I think. It was a black and white photo. And in the picture, there's two men holding this mannequin down on a bed, right?
Right.
And that's a real photo because I think it was their training for them to, like, if you need to restrain a patient, here's what you do, right? But the story that came out of it, I was like, whoa. And then that one in The Rake, I was like, I cannot do this anymore.
The Rake is very reminiscent of Skinwalkers, though.
Yes, which is why it
which
bothered me
are
so much.
real.
We're going to get into Skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers is freaky as hell.
Well, this is becoming quickly like a scary story episode. That's not what it was intended to be.
I think the thing with this one is that this Bob Ross theory is just so ridiculous that it kind of falls into that realm of this is like a creepypasta no sleep territory. And because there's just not enough of like a little bit of evidence for us to go off of, it's too ridiculous.
Yeah, like
so this is more of a fun.
I could see this. I could see this being done. Like if someone were to write Bob Ross's personal journal and just explain the pain he feels and like what he's seen and like how he's going to paint it. Like that would be interesting. I could see that being done. If you're one of those people that writes on r/nosleep or creepypasta or wherever, have at it. I'm not copywriting this at all. So go and be fruitful.
Yeah, if you can make up a cool Bob Ross story for that, I would love to read it.
If you do, send it to us at ZEITGUYS Podcast on Twitter.
Yes, please do.
It is when you Google search it, Google will say, "Did you mean Zeitgeist Podcast?" Because there is a podcast called The Daily Zeitgeist. They don't do what we do, and we're not trying to do what they do. But you have to go and it's like, it'll say, "Did you mean?" And you'd be like, "No, I meant Zeitguys Podcast."
ZEITI. No,
nope.
wrong.
Nope.
I'm dyslexic.
Start over.
ZEITGYGUY.
Nope. Start over. Start over.
So ZEITGUYS. Zeitguys
Podcast. Yes.
PODCEE. CPRNICCIS.
No,
NIC. We KEYMOUSE. Nicky Mouse.
we pick on Nick because he is actually dyslexic. So
it's hard.
Applaud for spelling Zeitguys correctly on the third try. 3 strikes and you would have been out, but we're good. You're still here.
So thanks for listening this long. So now comes a new thing I'm going to start doing at the end of each episode. So if y'all like some plugs, this is going to be some plugs. So follow us on Twitter at ZEITGUYS Podcast, like we said. And shout out again to Inside OZ Podcast for sending us that suggestion on Twitter. Thank you very much. And I am also so I guess there are shout out for this episode. I kind of want to start shouting out other conspiracy podcasts because when I created the Twitter, I kind of did the thing where you play the follow game. I followed a bunch of people to kind of get our name out. And I actually got a lot of really awesome interaction, which I was not expecting. So thank you, everyone that reached out to me on Twitter so far. I really, really appreciate that. And I was not expecting to have such kind of like this open arms, like welcome to the community kind of feeling.
Right.
And everyone was like, yeah, use our theories, like talk to us. And people were interacting when I posted some random like, oh, give me your theories, or hey, what did you think of this episode? And people gave me their honest opinion, like, oh, I really loved it. So thank you.
How do we know that's honest though?
I mean, even if it's not, it felt honest when I read it. So
it makes us feel good. So if you don't like it, lie to us and tell us that you did. We'll appreciate it.
We live in blissful ignorance.
We are very fragile. We're like 2 orchids.
I am hanging by a thread.
Honestly, this could derail my entire life.
Yes. So please like it. Give us a like. I won't die.
But honestly, this is it, and the part of the reason we do this is because this is the kind of podcast where we want you to discover things, discover new ideas, and learn some new things along the way. So if you learned something that you didn't know before you came here, or if you've thought of something you wouldn't have thought of without coming here, consider subscribing. We'd appreciate it. We do this kind of stuff all the time, and we've got a lot more coming.
Yes. Tune in for next episode whatever it'll be.
I think it'll be 10.
Yes. It's going to blow your mind.
It's going to blow
Sweeper.
my mind. Sweeper. But honestly, Nick won't tell me what it is yet, so you'll find out in the next episode, and at the same time that I do, because I don't know what to expect. But I'm ready to be just blown to smithereens here.
All right. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.